So talking about Kala Bala. Kala Bala is fun to say. No, Kala means time, and Bala means strength. And so it's the strength of the planet in relation to time. There are different measurements of time, different increments of time. And so the Kala Bala, which is a made up of like 10 different calculations, is what we look at when we're assessing the planet relative to its Kala Bala strength. And we have several different ones. Divaratri Bala, which shows different planets are powerful at night or during the day. Paksha Bala, which has to do with which Paksha, which means full moon, waxing moon or waning moon. Then there's other ones like the Tribhaga Bala, which is which part of the day. The day is divided into 3 different parts, and certain planets are stronger at different parts of the day. And then there's Masa Bala, which means a month. There's a whole bunch of different, Vara Bala, which means the day. So all the different ways that we evaluate the So all the different ways we evaluate time also comes into play with this Kala Bala. Now, one of the more interesting ones is Ayana Bala, which has to do with the planet's proximity to the Ayana or the solstice, which solstice it's closer to. And again, this one has certain planets are stronger when the sun is waxing. When the sun... This shows that some planets are stronger when they took place on the northern course and some on the southern course, right? Or closer to the northern or southern course. But one of the things that's also really interesting about the Ayana Bala is it gives us great insight into the zodiacs, right? Because this is one of the only examples of the solstices and equinoxes and the seasons of the seasonal calculation, or what we now call tropical zodiac. This is one of the only examples when the tropical zodiac calculation is used, right? Because it has to do with the Ayanas, which are the solstices. And again, we have the term ayanamsha, which means solstice portion, which shows us the sidereal sky measured against the tropical Ayana sky, right? So this Ayana Bala, which is part of Kala Bala, gives us great insight into how and when we're supposed to use what we call tropical zodiac, but the tropical calculation, the seasonal calculation. And we also have great guidance from Brihat, Parashara, Hora, Sastra, which, as far as I know, it's the only text that has the calculation for Ayana Bala. One of the reasons why we study Brihat, Parashara, Hora, Sastra is it's complete, for the most part, in all of these important calculations. Other texts refer to different parts of Shad Bala, for example, but they don't always have all the calculations. They don't give a clear directive of how to do it. Some of them have, like, for example, 3 of the Avashtas. They leave some of them out in other texts. Brihat Parashara has all 5 of the Avashtas and tells you how to calculate them. This is the reason why learned astrologers come down on the side of studying Parashara, especially if there's ever any sort of discrepancy or any kind of controversy around one text over the other. You always come back to Parashara because it seems to be the most complete. And again, it doesn't mean it's better in all ways, but like, for example, some of the really earlier texts by Varahamihira established a lot of other things that aren't in Brihat Parashara. For example, things like, the structure and like the references back to the early Vedas and whatnot, because Varahamihira had a different sort of intention. But for the most part, one of the great things about Brihat Parashara is the calculations are there. And the calculation for Ayana Bala, which again is part of Kala Bala, is to find the planet and then add the ayanamsha to see how close it is to the nearest solstice. Why this is important is because it shows very clearly that we're supposed to use the sidereal zodiac. Because in Parashara it says to find the longitude of the planet and then add the ayanamsha. So it doesn't mean, and again, if it was intended to be tropical zodiac that we're finding the planet, then there would be no need to have the direction to add the ayanamsha. It's very clear. And again, all of the texts are clear that we use sidereal zodiac. That's really not a dispute. Some people do, but in every astrology text, the zodiac is sidereal. Every one, it clearly states it, right? And in Brihat, Parashara, Hora, Sastra, especially, because in order to calculate the Ayana, Bala correctly, you need to be able to find the planet and then add the ayanamsha portion to it. That's how you know whether or not the planet is closer to the northern course or the southern course, because you have to then find the sidereal longitude of the planet, then add the ayanamsha to it, right? Add the solstice portion. That's how you can tell if it's closer to one or the other. So that's very clear indication. And again, this is why it's very important to study these things in great depth, not just take the Shad Bala score, the composite Bala, and say, okay, it's good or it's bad or whatever. No, you want to study these things and you want to look in the text. And again, these are the kinds of things we're going to do in the Shad Bala course that I'm talking about. We're going to examine all of these different ways of understanding, you know, for example, the Paksha Bala, which is whether the moon is waxing or waning, why it's a certain way, the Masa Bala, which means which month the person was born, or the Hora Bala, which is also, you know, the day is divided into 24 hours, or Horas. Certain planets have, you know, strength there, and the Hora Bala is, if you were born on the day, on the Hora of your ruling planet, it's strong, etc., etc. So again, these are all very important. The last quality of Kala Bala that I wanted to speak about here today is the Yuddha Bala, which means the planetary war. Right? Now, sometimes this Yuddha Bala is broken out. There's a whole separate calculation in Shad Bala for the planetary war, but it's also, I think it's included in Parashara as part of the Kala Bala. And planetary war shows that when planets are within the same degree, one of them wins and defeats the other, and the karmas from the one planet gets transferred to the other, right? Now, there's a lot of different ways to look at this planetary war issue. Some of it's based on brightness, some of it's based on if the planet is in higher longitude, it wins, if it's in lower longitude. Again, they have to be within 1 degree, but which one is higher, which one is lower. These are things that we're also going to talk about a lot in the Shad Bala course, is how to evaluate this planetary war, because it's very important. And I'm going to give you the, you know, the methodologies for each one. So those are a few qualities of the Kala Bala to pay attention to. The planet and its interactions with time, whether through day, month, and even Ayana, you know, which is half portion of the year. We evaluate based on those things, and that's all going to be part of the Shad Bala course.